My paper offering shop was the most renowned underworld marriage agency online. The paper brides and grooms I crafted could help longing souls in the mortal world connect with their deceased lovers in an underworld marriage, soothing their regrets. Business flourished so much that my mother-in-law, Susan, even put up a sign for ghost marriages. Each ceremony cost millions of yuan. Before the full moon of the 7th lunar month, a massive order worth tens of millions came in. The client specifically requested a living bride whose birth characters matched. Susan took the money but couldn't find anyone to marry off, so she turned her sights on me. My son marrying you was 8 lifetimes of bad luck, 3 years, and you haven't laid a single egg. Better to marry you off to the dead and bring some money into this family. Even Liam, my husband, knelt before me, begging because of the money. Just consider it helping the family. I promise I'll treat you 10 times better afterward. I forced a smile and agreed. Secretly, I tied Susan's birth characters to the paper bride. I gave a slight nod. The entire room fell silent instantly. Liam looked up, disbelieving. Susan, too, was stunned, her face erupting in extreme joy. You agreed? You really agreed? Liam scrambled up from the floor, excitedly gripping my shoulders. I looked at him, my eyes devoid of any emotion. I agree. Excellent, excellent. Susan slapped her thigh in delight. She immediately pulled out her phone, fumbling to find a number. No, it's better to use your asterisk phone to show sincerity. She snatched my phone from the table, scrolled through the call history, and pressed call. The phone connected quickly. Susan shoved it into my hand, a sycophantic smile plastered on her face. Quick, tell Mr. Chen you've agreed? A deep male voice came from the other end. Have you thought it through? I hummed in response. Very good. The voice showed no clear joy or sorrow. To be absolutely sure, I'll need the bride's birth characters. Susan, standing beside me, grew incredibly anxious. She leaned in, whispering, "Read them out quickly. Why are you just standing there?" She nudged me. Holding the phone, I slowly and clearly recited a series of numbers in front of them both. They were Susan's birth characters. I remembered them perfectly. Neither Susan nor Liam understood these things. They just assumed I was speaking about myself. Seeing me, sensible. Susan smiled in satisfaction and snatched the phone back. Mr. Chen, did you hear that? My daughter-in-law is very understanding. Rest assured, everything is prepared on our side. We're just waiting for yours. Her fawning voice echoed through the small paper offering shop as she dreamed of the enormous sum of tens of millions about to come her way. I bowed my head, picked up the bamboo sticks she had tossed aside, and continued working on the unfinished paper figures, a faint, unnoticeable smile playing on my lips. At 3:00 p.m., the phone rang again. It was the same number. Susan lunged for it, her face beaming as she answered. "Hello, Mr. Chen." From the other end, the man's deep voice held an unconcealed hint of joy. "The birth characters, I had a master analyze them. It's a match made in heaven." Susan grinned widely at this. "That's wonderful. I told you my daughter-in-law was blessed. I've already had my accountant transfer the money. 10 million deposit." The man's words struck Susan like a bolt of lightning. Her breathing hitched. She clutched the phone, her hands trembling. What? 10 million is just the deposit? That's right, check your phone." No sooner had he spoken than Susan's phone chimed with a crisp notification. She fumbled with the device, opened the message, and the not-so-long string of numbers made her freeze on the spot. The next second, she let out a horrified shriek. "Ah, we're rich, we're rich." She embraced Liam beside her, laughing and crying like a madwoman. "Son, 10 million, we have 10 million. Liam, too, was flushed with excitement, hugging his mother tightly, laughing breathlessly. I sat in the corner, my face ashen, not uttering a word. They saw me like this and assumed I was overwhelmed with grief, which only intensified the triumphant joy on their faces. Susan wiped away tears of excessive laughter, walked up to me, and patted my face. "Come on, stop sulking. You should be happy. You're bringing 10 million to the family." There wasn't an ounce of comfort in her voice, only condescension and smugness. Immediately after, she pulled out her phone and started calling relatives one by one. "Hello, sister-in-law. Let me tell you some good news. Our Liam's business is booming. Yes, a 10 million deal. That daughter-in-law of mine is truly a treasure. She sacrificed herself to bring immense wealth to our family." Her voice echoed through the shop, as if afraid others wouldn't know their family was about to strike it rich. The content of each call was the same, exalting herself to the heavens while simultaneously dragging me through the mud. Hanging up, she looked at me, her expression completely changed. Lyra, you've finally done something useful. If it weren't for you, this barren hen, eating our rice for 3 years, I wouldn't know why I kept you around. She pompously poked my forehead with her finger. I lowered my eyes, saying nothing. She took my silence as implicit agreement, emboldening her further. She directly opened a shopping app and began planning how to spend the 10 million. Once this money arrives first, we'll buy your brother a fully paid-off house, the biggest one in the city center, she told Liam, referring to Liam's unmarried younger brother, Leo. And I need to get gifts for my sisters too, don't I? Each gets the latest designer handbag. And me too, these clothes need replacing. I must go shopping in Hong Kong until I drop. She planned item by item, every single expense involving her and her youngest son. From beginning to end, not a single word about me, nor even Liam. Liam stood beside, not only seeing nothing wrong but nodding along continuously. Mom's right, we'll do everything Mom says. He turned to me, feigning comfort. Wife, don't overthink it. Mom is doing this for our own good. We're a family, we have to think about the bigger picture. I looked at the mother and son, lost in their monetary delusions, feeling utterly disgusted. Ignoring them, I quietly stood up and returned to my workbench. I picked up a carving knife and continued painting the eyes on a newly finished paper figure. Its face bore a 7/10 resemblance to my mother-in-law, Susan. I painted smiling eyes on it. Liam's younger brother, Leo, came back, drawn by the smell. As he walked through the door, he saw his mother, Susan, staring at her tablet, her shopping cart overflowing with luxury goods. Mom, did we get rich? Leo grinned as he approached. Seeing her youngest son, Susan became even more smug and pulled him closer. She pointed at me, silently working in the corner, and loudly boasted. Son, look, how great your sister-in-law is. She sacrificed herself to get you a house in the city center. Leo's gaze landed on me, filled with undisguised judgment and contempt. Not only was he not grateful, but he walked up to me, adopting a superior air. Sister-in-law, since you've married into our family, you must understand the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. His tone was like that of someone lecturing an ignorant servant. Whatever Mom tells you to do is for your own good for this family. You must obey. I stopped the carving knife in my hand, looked up, and stared at him coldly. Really? My voice wasn't loud, but it instantly cooled the cheerful atmosphere in the room. Then wouldn't it be better for your mother to go instead? Leo froze. He hadn't expected me to talk back. Susan also froze, then her face flushed crimson like a pig's liver. Lyra, what do you mean by that? She shrieked, pointing a finger at my nose and scolding me mercilessly. The money just hit the account, and you haven't even been married off yet, and you dare to defy me? Impudent. Leo also reacted, angrily chiming in. Exactly, sister-in-law, you're so unreasonable. Our family found such a good match for you, and you're still not satisfied. I scoffed, a furious laugh escaping me. Marrying the dead is called a good match. Both mother and son were speechless, choked by my words. Liam hastily rushed to mediate. He yanked me up from the chair and dragged me back into the room. With a bang, he slammed the door shut, cutting off the curses from outside. Lyra, are you crazy? How could you talk to my mother and brother like that? He growled at me, his voice lowered. I looked at him, not saying a word. Seeing my deathly expression, his anger faded, and he began to feign comfort. All right, I know you feel wronged. He reached out to hug me, but I dodged him. Just bear it a little longer. Once we get the money, we'll live good lives. I promise I'll listen to everything you say from now on. I didn't believe a single word he said. I looked at him, my heart perfectly still, and calmly asked one question. When is the full moon of the 7th month? Liam froze, then his face broke into a look of delight. He thought I had come to my senses and was finally interested in my wedding day. Soon, very soon, this Friday. He told me cheerfully, a cruel hint of excitement in his eyes. Don't worry, I'll personally see you off that day. I nodded, saying nothing more. That evening, the 3 of them celebrated lavishly in the living room, toasting to the good days ahead. Expensive red wine, fresh king crabs, and delicious dishes covered the table. Their boisterous laughter and chatter continuously spilled from under the door. Meanwhile, in my room, under the dim desk lamp, I took out the paper bride I had prepared earlier. It wore a splendid wedding gown, with delicate, regal eyebrows and phoenix eyes, bearing a 90% resemblance to my mother-in-law, Susan, in her youth. I took out a cinnabar brush, dipped it in thick ink, and held my breath as I dotted the final pupil. That year, the 7th lunar month's full moon was eerily dark. Early that morning, Susan burst into my room, beaming. In her hands, she carried a bright red wedding dress, old-fashioned, coarsely sewn, emanating a musty, mothball-like smell. "Get up and put this on," she ordered, flinging the dress onto my bed. I looked down at it, then at her own new, splendid designer clothes. The contrast was ironic, even cruel. I didn't move, only smiled without speaking. Susan began to lose patience. "What are you dawdling for? If you miss the auspicious hour, 10 million will fly away. I'll skin you alive." She anxiously paced beside Liam and Leo, who stood like two gatekeepers, one on the left, one on the right, guarding my door. Their faces were tense and expectant, staring at me, afraid I might change my mind and run away. This family was both laughable and pathetic. Seeing that I still wouldn't move, Susan finally lost all patience. She lunged, grabbed my arm, and tried to dress me herself. "You damn wretched girl, are you trying to test my patience?" My nails dug painfully into my flesh. "Letting you marry over there is a huge honor for you, you barren, jinxed woman. If Mr. Chen weren't blind, you wouldn't even be fit to mend shoes for the dead." She cursed incessantly, a torrent of cruel words pouring from her mouth. I was violently pulled and tugged by her, yet I still offered no resistance. Just then, a long, eerie procession of funeral music suddenly drifted from outside, a peculiar tune, not joyful but mournful. Then came the deep, resonant beats of gongs and drums, striking a chilling rhythm. The wedding procession had arrived. Susan's movements froze, then her face instantly lit up with wild joy. She immediately pushed me away and hurried to the window, primping her expensive clothes and hairstyle. She was about to greet her god of wealth. Liam and Leo were also excited, hastily opening the shop door. Outside, a line of black cars was led by a black wooden sedan chair adorned with white flowers. Several men in matching black attire stood expressionless. A matchmaker, in a red silk top, her face thickly powdered white, entered, holding a red silk ribbon. Susan greeted them with a wide smile. "Oh, you must be from Mr. Chen's side? You've gone through a lot of trouble. Please come in, the bride is ready." She gestured towards my room. The matchmaker didn't even glance at me. Her eyes seemed fixed on Susan, staring intensely. The matchmaker bared her teeth in a grotesque smile. She handed the red silk ribbon to Susan and loudly declared, "The auspicious hour has arrived. Welcome the bride." The entire shop fell so silent you could hear a pin drop. The matchmaker paused for a moment, her gaze locking onto Susan's face, which was slightly contorted with excitement. Then, with all her might, she bellowed a name. "Welcome the bride, Susan Lee, to the sedan chair." Susan Lee was my mother-in-law's name. Susan's face instantly turned ashen. She pointed at herself, her lips trembling, unable to utter a sound. "Why you?" The matchmaker, expressionless, repeated herself, her voice louder and clearer. "The birth characters are correct, the auspicious hour aligns. Bride Susan Lee, please step into the sedan chair." Liam and Leo were utterly bewildered. "There's a mistake, you've definitely made a mistake." Leo was the first to react, shouting at the matchmaker. "How old is my mother? How can she be a bride? The bride is my sister-in-law." He pointed towards my room. The matchmaker completely ignored him. The men in black suits took a step forward, like iron towers blocking Leo's path. "What are you doing?" Liam exclaimed, frantic. "In broad daylight, are you trying to abduct someone? Believe it or not, I'll call the police." He fumbled for his phone, but his hands trembled so much he couldn't unlock it. No one paid any attention to their shouts. At that moment, the door of the leading luxury car outside opened, and a middle-aged man in a black Sun Yat-sen suit stepped out. He was about 50, his hair meticulously combed, his face devoid of expression, but his sharp eyes held the oppressive aura of someone long accustomed to a high position. The moment he appeared, silence fell, even the blare of horns and drums ceased. He was Mr. Chen. Mr. Chen's gaze swept over the chaotic scene in the courtyard, over Susan, paralyzed with fear on the ground, over the furious faces of Liam and Leo, and finally his eyes rested on me. I was stepping out of the room, still wearing my ordinary house clothes, completely out of place in this bizarre wedding setting. Mr. Chen did not show anger. In fact, no emotion was discernible on his face. He simply looked at me and slowly spoke. "It seems someone has swapped the marriage papers." His voice was utterly calm, yet it sent shivers down the spines of the 3 members of the Lee family. "I'm very curious," he continued. "Who has such audacity and such skillful hands?" His words jolted Susan awake. As if clutching a last straw, she suddenly sprang from the ground and like a madwoman pointed at me. "It's her! This harlot is playing tricks." Her voice was shrill and piercing. "Mr. Chen, don't listen to her. She's jealous that my son doesn't treat her well and is deliberately seeking revenge on our family. She's the one who should be married off. It's her, Lyra. Liam also reacted, chiming in. Right, Mr. Chen. This is a family matter and we mishandled it, causing you to laugh. I immediately told her to go with you. She agreed. The mother and son took turns, desperately trying to push all responsibility onto me. I ignored their slanders and shouts. I walked up to Mr. Chen, standing tall. I was not panicked like them, but performed the ancient, respectful salute of our papercrafting artisans when meeting important clients. I raised my head, met his scrutinizing gaze, and calmly said, Mr. Chen, the harmony of yin and yang requires fate. It cannot be forced. This lady's birth characters are indeed a perfect match for the departed in your family. The moment I finished speaking, the Li family cursed even more vehemently. Lies, Lyra, you wicked, black-hearted woman. Mr. Chen, don't believe her. She just wants to harm my mother. Mr. Chen raised his hand again and his bodyguards immediately stepped forward, covering the Li family's mouths. The whole world fell silent. A flicker of surprise and intense interest sparked in Mr. Chen's eyes. He hadn't expected that in this situation, this seemingly frail young woman would not only be unafraid but could even speak of fate. He knew he had found the right person. Oh, he looked at me, willing to hear more, making a gesture for me to continue. I am keen to hear your esteemed opinion. I knew I had made the right gamble at this critical juncture. I met Mr. Chen's scrutinizing gaze, neither arrogant nor subservient. In folklore, marrying the deceased is not just about continuing the family line, it's also about harmonizing the yin and yang of the household's geomancy. The departed in your family possessed a fiery, fierce, and unyielding disposition. If paired with birth characters that are equally young and vigorous, it would be adding fuel to fire, bringing unrest to the home. My voice was cold, clear, and articulate. As for this lady, I glanced at Susan, whose face was ghostly white. Her disposition belongs to earth, with strong and heavy birth characters. Fire gives birth to earth. Earth can contain and temper fiery energy, transforming it from volatile and destructive to warm and nurturing. This is true yin-yang harmony, capable of bringing blessings to descendants for 3 generations. The Li family understood not a single word of this, only feeling that I was talking nonsense. But Mr. Chen's eyes grew brighter, clearly indicating he understood completely. How can you prove that what you say isn't mere empty talk? Mr. Chen asked. This is the final test, I smiled. The true skill of a craftsman isn't just in words. I turned back to my workbench where my livelihood lay. I didn't use any precious materials, simply picked up the most ordinary piece of colored paper, a bamboo stick, and a dab of glue. Under everyone's astonished gaze, my hands moved like a blur cutting, folding, tying, gluing. In just a few minutes, a palm-sized paper figure took shape in my hands. The small paper figure wore cheerful, bright red clothes, with arching eyebrows and a lifelike, vivid expression. Most astonishingly, its face bore a 70% resemblance to my greedy mother-in-law, Susan, especially the contemptuous sneer at the corner of its mouth truly deeply etched. Here! The matchmaker and the bodyguards behind Mr. Chen were all dumbfounded, unable to help but gasp in surprise. Mr. Chen stepped closer, picked up the small paper figure, turning it over and examining it. For the first time, an undisguised look of admiration and shock appeared on his face. "Little girl," he said, "you truly are a master." As soon as Susan saw the situation shift and I earned Mr. Chen's favor, she immediately changed her demeanor. Forcing a smile that was uglier than a cry, she tried to approach me. "Lyra, my dear, look, this is all a misunderstanding. We're family, after all, and Mr. Chen is such an important figure. We can't offend him." Liam also crowded closer. "That's right, wife, we're family, no need for formalities. Let's not let outsiders mock us." I watched their hypocritical performance, feeling only disgust. I scoffed, ignoring them. From my workbench, I picked up a large red piece of paper and a sharp pair of scissors. Snip, 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 the scissors moved swiftly. I cut out 2 small paper figures holding hands, right in front of everyone. One represented me, the other Liam. I took out a piece of black thread I had prepared earlier and tightly bound the 2 paper figures together. This represented our marital bond. Then I lit an incense stick. Under their astonished gaze, I used the burning tip of the incense stick to touch the black thread. Blue smoke rose and the black thread snapped. The 2 small paper figures separated. I pushed the paper figure representing Liam towards him, my voice not loud, but clear enough for everyone to hear. Our fate ends here. From now on, our marriage is of no concern. Having done all this, I took the bank card containing 10 million yuan from a drawer and threw it onto the floor. This is the money for asterisk her sale. I don't need a single penny. I turned and walked back into my room, slamming the door shut with a asterisk bang asterisk, leaving behind a silent room and the paper-white faces of the Li family. Mr. Chen ultimately did not take my mother-in-law Susan. He was no fool. He naturally saw the sordidness behind this marriage. He simply cast a cold glance at the Li family and left them with a single sentence. Within 3 days, the deposit plus the breach of contract fee, a total of 20 million yuan, must be transferred to my company's account. Otherwise, you will bear the consequences yourself. With that, he led his formidable retinue away. The mother and sons of the Li family collapsed to the ground, their faces ashen as ash. 20 million yuan even if they sold themselves, they couldn't gather enough. For these 3 days, their home was a constant cacophony of squawks, barks, curses, and wails, but I ignored it all. 3 days later, Mr. Chen himself came to the house. This time, he wasn't there to collect a debt but to find me. He dismissed all the servants and solemnly bowed to me. Master Lyra, my previous actions were rash and I apologize. His attitude was remarkably humble. I am here today for a more important matter. I wish to invite your assistance. From an exquisite wooden box he carried, he carefully lifted out an object. It was a damaged human statue, about a foot tall, seemingly made of a special kind of wood, intricately carved but broken in the middle, its face covered in cracks, appearing severely damaged. This is the ancestral statue of my Chen family. It has been worshipped for nearly 100 years. Mr. Chen's voice carried a hint of sorrow. A few days ago, a mischievous child in the house accidentally broke it. I've invited renowned masters from all over, but they all said it couldn't be restored. They all said the spirit of the statue had vanished. He looked at me, his eyes full of earnestness. But I've seen your craftsmanship, and I believe you surely have a way. I looked at the damaged ancestral statue. I knew this was not just a lucrative commission, but also a final test of my skill. If I accepted, I would take a huge leap forward. I will do my best, I responded. To restore this ancestral statue, the most crucial element was a special adhesive. The formula had been lost for a long time, but I had seen notes about it in my master's old handbook. It mentioned a key ingredient, powdered heartwood from a 100-year-old black ebony tree. This type of wood was now extremely rare to find. I heard that the most famous senior in the city's papercrafting community, Master Liu Wenhai, happened to have a piece in his possession. I prepared a humble gift and personally went to his house to request it. Master Liu's shop, Shu Yitang, Artisan's Hall, was ancient and elegant, carrying the air of a true grandmaster. After I explained my intention, Master Liu raised his teacup and cast a dismissive glance at me, his eyes carrying unconcealed disdain. "Little girl," he began, "I've also examined the Chen family's ancestral statue. Its spirit is shattered, its form ruined. It's a lost cause beyond repair." He slowly took a sip of tea. "You're so young, what skills could you possibly have? Don't tell me you're listening to foolish rumors and trying to trick me into giving you my ebony wood for a scam." His disciples beside him all burst into boisterous laughter. Master is right. Young people nowadays are so impulsive, always looking for shortcuts. Mr. Chen is also confused, trusting some unknown young girl. I instantly understood. So, he had also examined it, also wanted to take on the project, but had failed. Now, seeing Mr. Chen invite me, he was clearly overcome by professional jealousy and an imbalanced state of mind. I didn't argue with him, more words would be useless. I simply placed the gift I had brought on the table and calmly said, "Master Liu, I will visit again in 3 days. By then, I hope you won't regret it." With that, I turned and left, leaving behind a mixture of astonishment and cold laughter in Shu Yitang. I didn't place any hope in Master Liu's goodwill. For the next 3 days, I didn't study the ancestral statue itself. Instead, I visited all the elderly carpenters and painters in the city. I showed them photos of the ancestral statue and sought their advice. Although they didn't understand restoration, their insights into materials and techniques gave me many clues. A painter over 90 years old told me that these kinds of statues didn't use glue at their joints but a long-lost, living mortise and tenon technique, where the wood's own structure interlocked perfectly, creating a seamless natural bond. These 3 words were like a lightning bolt, tearing through the fog in my mind. I understood. The key to restoration fundamentally didn't lie in the 100-year-old ebony wood at all, but in recreating this living mortise and tenon technique. 3 days later, I returned to Shu Yatang. Master Liu thought I had run out of options and come to beg. He had specifically summoned almost all his colleagues in the city, claiming it was to reward them, but in reality, he was ready to watch me make a fool of myself. The reception hall was packed. "Little girl, how is it? Have you come to your senses?" Master Liu asked, looking down at me from his seat of honor. I smiled. "Master Liu, I think you're the one who needs to come to your senses," I announced loudly in front of everyone. The key to restoring the ancestral statue isn't in external adhesion, but in its internal structure. When you tried to restore it, you only thought about how to use glue. Your thinking was flawed from the start. My single sentence instantly turned Master Liu's face crimson like a pig's liver, exposed before the crowd. He was livid. "You speak nonsense, you arrogant junior." He slammed his hand on the table and stood up. "Fine, you say I'm wrong, then you do it. Today we will compete in front of the whole city." He pointed at me, loudly proposing, "Each of us will create a brand new piece on the theme of father and son. Whoever wins will be responsible for restoring Mr. Chen's ancestral statue. Do you dare?" This was exactly what I wanted. What is there to fear? I accepted with delight. The competition was divided into 3 rounds: shaping, painting, and finally, dotting the eyes to bring the figures to life. In the shaping round, Master Liu used traditional clay, his technique seasoned and steady. I used an improved paper pulp mixture, which dried quickly, was flexible, and allowed for more dynamic shaping. This round ended in a draw. In the painting round, Master Liu used vibrant mineral pigments. I used plant-based pigments, resulting in colors that were more transparent and profound. In this round, I had a slight edge. Master Liu's expression grew increasingly sour. He hadn't expected his lifelong skill to be surpassed by a mere slip of a girl. In his eyes, jealousy and unease intensified. The final and most crucial round, the eye-dotting ceremony, was the decisive factor. The night before the last round of the competition, a shadowy figure stealthily crept into my workshop, Master Liu. He took out a small bottle of colorless, specially formulated liquid and carefully poured it into the cinnabar ink dish I had prepared for dotting the eyes. This liquid was colorless and odorless, but it would destroy cinnabar's adhesion. If used to paint eyes, the color would become dull, blotchy, and lifeless. This trick was enough to ruin my entire work. His intentions were utterly malicious. After completing his sabotage, he quietly slipped away, a sinister smile on his face. He believed his victory was now assured. On the final day of the competition, everyone looked at the completed works of both Master Liu and me, with only the last, most crucial step remaining, dotting the eyes. As per the rules, Mr. Chen, the host, personally presented the cinnabar ink dish and the eye-dotting brush. Master Liu went first. He appeared calm and at ease, holding the brush filled with cinnabar, steadily dotting the eyes of the father and son figures in his work. The piece was not bad, but it always felt like something was missing. Those eyes were lifeless. He retreated proudly, casting a provocative glance at me, waiting for me to be humiliated. It was my turn. I walked to my workbench, all eyes fixed on me. I picked up a brand new wolf hair brush, intending to dip it into the cinnabar ink dish. My nose twitched slightly. A faint, strange smell hung in the air, not the scent of cinnabar. My hand paused. I brought the brush to my nose, then sniffed the cinnabar dish itself. The source of the peculiar scent was indeed the ink. I instantly understood. Master Liu had tampered with my tools. When he saw me hesitate, the cold smile on his face deepened. The colleagues present also began to whisper, assuming I was nervous and afraid to proceed. "What's wrong? Don't dare to dot them," Master Liu said mockingly. I ignored him. I looked up at everyone, then performed an action that astonished them all. I did not dip my brush into that cinnabar dish. I put the brush down and took out the smallest steel needle from my nearby toolkit. Amidst gasps from the crowd, I unhesitatingly pricked the tip of my left index finger, and a drop of fresh, red blood welled up. What is she doing? Has she gone mad?" The audience erupted in chaos. Master Liu was also dumbfounded, completely unprepared for such a move. My expression remained unchanged, my demeanor solemn. I used my blood-stained finger to lightly dip into the tampered cinnabar ink. The cinnabar, mixed with my fresh blood, immediately took on a dark, almost demonic, concentrated hue. I murmured the incantation my master had taught me, a sacred method for infusing spirit into objects. Then, with this blood-inked finger, I gently dotted the eyes of the father figure in my work. The moment my fingertip touched, a miracle occurred. The paper figure seemed to come alive. Its eyes were no longer lifeless dots on paper, but filled with the weight of experience, tenderness, and an indescribable spiritual essence. I used the same method to dot the eyes of the sun figure. Instantly, the paper figure representing the sun's eyes filled with reverence and reliance. Father and son stood facing each other, their gazes exchanging a myriad of unspoken words. The entire hall was utterly silent, everyone stunned by the powerful vitality radiating from my artwork. "It's alive! The paper figure is alive!" someone shouted, though no one knew who. Mr. Chen, even more agitated, stood up and quickly walked to my artwork, his eyes filled with astonishment and delight. The victory was clear. My work was a divine masterpiece. Master Liu's was merely an empty shell, devoid of spirit. "No, impossible." Master Liu, his face ashen as ash, screamed wildly. "You used black magic, it's sorcery." I looked at him coldly. "Is it sorcery, or is there a demon in your own heart?" I picked up the cinnabar brush and the dish he had tampered with, presenting them to Mr. Chen. "Mr. Chen, you are a master of this craft. Please smell this. Besides cinnabar, is there not also a hint of pine oil?" Pine oil can destroy the color and adhesion of cinnabar. It's an absolute taboo for papercraft artisans. Mr. Chen's expression darkened. He took the dish, sniffed it, and his face instantly turned pale. All the colleagues present also came forward to verify, and their gazes towards Master Liu became filled with contempt and scorn. "Why you?" Faced with irrefutable evidence, Master Liu's aged face lost all dignity. He wanted to argue, but not a single word escaped his lips. I looked at him, and then at everyone present, and declared loudly, "We, as artisans, inherit skill, but to establish ourselves, we must have integrity. If skill is lacking, it can be honed, but if character is flawed, one is not worthy of being a craftsman." My words struck deep into everyone's hearts. Master Liu, overcome by shame and fury, couldn't catch his breath, his eyes rolled back, and he fainted on the spot. His disciples behind him frantically carried him away, a truly pathetic sight. This farce was finally over. I had won, fairly and squarely, and established my new reputation. After the confrontation, I naturally took on the commission to repair the Chen family's ancestral statue. Employing the living mortise and tenon technique, I spent 7 days and 7 nights restoring the damaged statue to its original perfection, even imbuing it with more spirit than before. Mr. Chen was immensely grateful, not only paying a lavish fee, but also honoring me as a distinguished guest of the Chen family. He proactively offered to invest in my craftsmanship. Under his sponsorship, I expanded my old paper offering shop into an art studio, blending traditional craftsmanship with modern aesthetics. I named it Heavenly Craftsmanship Studio, and my career embarked on an entirely new path. I was no longer limited to making paper figures for underworld marriages, but began accepting orders for and restoring various high-end folk art pieces, deities in temples, ancient puppets in museums, and protective artifacts in wealthy homes. My reputation spread far and wide with each successful work. I redefined the identity of an underworld matchmaker. I told everyone that I was not a superstitious medium connecting the living and the dead, but rather, I used my skillful hands to soothe the longing of the living, a cultural artisan inheriting centuries of technique. A year later, Heavenly Craftsmanship Studio was renowned in the industry. My order book was full for the next 3 years. Young people from all over the country flocked to apprentice under me, practically knocking down the workshop doors. As for my ex-husband's family, their fate was tragic. To repay Mr. Chen's colossal debt of 20 million yuan, they sold their house, exhausted all their savings, and were buried under a mountain of debt. My mother-in-law, Susan, couldn't withstand the shock and suffered a stroke, leaving her bedridden. Liam and Leo, 2 pampered men, neither skilled nor responsible, could only rely on odd jobs to scrape by, living truly miserable lives. That day, I had just returned from a national folk art exhibition after receiving an award. The studio's security guard told me, "Your ex-husband and brother-in-law are here again, lurking at the door, begging to see you." It wasn't the first time I'd seen them through the surveillance camera, their tattered clothes, their emaciated figures kneeling on the ground, weeping desperately, uttering all sorts of regrets and pleas for forgiveness, completely different from their arrogant and smug expressions when they forced me to marry off a year ago. I felt absolutely nothing. "Call the police," I told the guard. "Next time something like this happens, deal with it directly. Don't bother asking me." With that, I turned off the surveillance camera. I walked to the massive floor-to-ceiling glass window on the second floor of my studio. Outside the window lay the city's most bustling and prosperous street. Cars bustled, and the sunlight was brilliant. All of this was connected to me, yet had nothing to do with them. The legend of my life was not about whom I married, nor about whom I sought revenge on, but about building a brilliant future with my own two hands, one cut and one paste at a time.